which will be by Shane Sevy this evening. Jesus, we just come to you today, Lord, and I just lift our city council and our officials and our city officials up to you, Lord, that they would just seek you and the decisions they make, no matter how big, no matter how small, that they would seek your kingdom and your will first. I pray that you would just give them wisdom, Lord, because it says if we ask for your wisdom, you will give it generously. Lord, I pray that you would be with the city residents, Lord, as they bring forth their situations or concerns, that you would lead them and guide them, Lord. And I just pray Jesus' name over each individual person here. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Go turn and face the flag. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Should have asked her, are we good? Computer-wise? Are we rolling?
You good?
We're rolling, okay. All right, can we have the roll call of the council persons?
Lehman. Present. Hodak.
Present.
Cassidy.
Here.
Baker.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
Mendoza. Lake.
Motion to excuse Councilperson Lake.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to excuse Councilperson Lake. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
What about Mendoza? She did email.
That'll have to be a separate
Separate
motion
one.
at this
Okay.
point.
Okay. Hodak.
Yes.
Cassidy.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Lehman.
Yes.
Okay.
All right,
Move to excuse Councilperson Mendoza.
Second.
all right, we have a motion by Lehman, a second by Podak to excuse Councilperson Mendoza. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Cassidy.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Lehman.
Yes.
Kodak. Sorry.
Yes.
Both Mendoza and Lake are excused. That does render suspending the three reading rule ineffective tonight. That cannot be done. We don't have enough council members to do that. I believe we have just enough if we go into executive session with 5, because there has been an executive session requested by the Economic Development Director. So if someone's inclined to motion that at the right time, it would be appreciated. We'll move into the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there approval of the video from the previous meeting?
Move to adopt.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Lehman, a second by Baker to adopt the video minutes from the previous meeting. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Hall.
Yes.
Lehman.
Yes.
Kodak.
Yes.
Cassidy.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All righty, communications.
Yes, I have another liquor license from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control for a permit hearing or not for In the Air LLC. Is that Axe? I'm sorry, In the Axe LLC.
Does anybody desire a hearing for that?
What's the address?
The Main Street over here. I'm not sure what.
210 South Main Street.
The axe room.
All righty, thank you.
No hearing?
No hearing. Report of the committee's Finance Committee.
No update. I'll just remind everyone that the next meeting will be held July 16th at 5:30 p.m. in council chambers.
Any reports for the Public Affairs Committee this evening?
Yes, we have some events going on this week. The City Fireworks and Talent Show is Saturday, July 6th, from 6 p.m. to the end of the fireworks. Talent show signups will be at 6 to 7. Show will consist of 2 age divisions, 5 and 17, and then 18 plus. Talent show starts at 7:30. There'll be food vendors present. We Love to Shred, hosted by Colbush Memorial Library, Fostoria Area Chamber of Commerce, community shredding event, Tuesday, July 9th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Truck will be located between the Learning Center and Kroger's. So it's from 10 to 1 on July 9th. Lunch on the Lawn, Wednesday, July 10th, from 12 to 1. Entertainment by Kevin Cullens. Food vendors Aurora's Tamales. The Farmers Market and Artisan Market will be Thursday, July 11th in downtown Fostoria from 4 to 8 p.m. We have a summer concert hosted by Downtown Re-Event Friday, July 12th. Space Cats will be performing in the alley at 113 South Main Street from 6 to 10 p.m. We have a community dinner hosted by Grandma's House Saturday, July 13th from 2 o'clock p.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. at Jackson Park, giving out free meals for those in need. So that'll be Saturday, July 13th from 2 to 7 at Jackson Park. And the FCAC City and Summer Concert, Sunday, July 14th. KB will be performing Wainwright Amphitheater in Fostoria Foundation Park from 7:30 to 8:30. That'll be it.
Good, thank you. Law and Ordinance Committee, anything to report this evening? Nothing?
No update, but again, they will meet on July 16th at 5:15 PM.
Thank you. Moving to the reports of the officers, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
While it appears that we have a lot of new business on the agenda, some of it can be explained rather simply. The first three items are tightening up the penalties for criminal trespassing. We are recommending this as a method of enforcement for squatters should they appear in Fostoria. We feel that charging them with criminal trespassing is the fastest and most expeditious way of enforcing this problem versus attempting to come up with all new legislation. The Monarch Butterfly City is straightforward. We already have a nice pollinator garden at the library. This is of little cost and the cause is a good one. The next three items are adding recreational marijuana to the sites already allocated for medical marijuana. The renaming of the airport comes at the unanimous recommendation of the newly appointed airport committee. While it caught me off guard, it would be a nice gesture to someone who has contributed greatly to the airport over the years. And Mr. Danderwan will explain the then and now legislation as well as the other financial ordinances which are added to the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Director of Public Service and Safety. Mr.
All right, thanks, Mr. President. Today, the mayor and I visited the what used to be the Jackson Street impound property, and I know not everybody was on council when this project started down there on Jackson Street, but it was a grant that was obtained by the what used to be SCAT, and now is NCAT, the North Central Area Transportation that Mary Habig runs. Mary went out and wanted to have a presence in Fostoria for their transportation buses, so she went out and got a grant, applied for a grant and received it, well over $400,000 to refurbish that building that was already there and build a building behind it for the buses of SCAT to be housed in Fostoria, and maybe add some more options of transportation for folks that need the help getting places using the NCAT system now. So far, they have finished a lot of the inside of the former building, and the shell of the new building is up. Still to come will be paving all around the inside of the fence. They put a new fence up at that building. Place looks really nice now. We took out some old bushes, and it should be it'll be used partially by some things for the police department, but be a good home then for SCAT or NCAT to add maybe some more routes for Fostoria. So I'm not sure exactly when the completion date is, but it is well on its way, and I'm sure it'll be done sometime this summer. But if you get a chance to drive by there, take a look at it, and hopefully when it's done, we can get you a nice tour of those facilities. Really great upgrade to that area down there. We did open bids for our street resurfacing project, the combined 2023 and 24. Todd is currently going through the packets right now. There were three bidders. One came well under our estimated bid, and we'll see how those bid packets come out. But the main aim for that, if you remember, we talked last year, and I know some of you weren't here, but we're working right now with several different moving parts. One of them is the EPA's mandate that we locate all the lead service lines in Fostoria, and then we also have a project that has been going on for the last several years where we are identifying low pressure lines in neighborhoods, trying to get rid of all the red hydrants. Red hydrants mean low pressure in a neighborhood. And we also have and have had an issue in the past where we'll do a paving project, Columbia Gas will come along, do a project right after us, and then there's several sewer projects that are going on and planned. So we compiled all that information to put together a paving plan that we could pave and then not tear it up again. So we knew that around the high school, which we do, which is in need of paving, which is H.O. Ford, Wainwright, and Stinchcombe, and that piece of Park Avenue and by the hospital on Elm Street were ones that we would pave and not have to tear up again because it was free of lead lines and low pressure lines. And so once Todd finishes going through those packets, we'll get out the information on exactly what streets are in the paving project, which is roughly $400,000 for the combined 2 years, and then get you that information on which ones will have made the cut for this year. But the nice thing that we have going for us is we were chosen by the EPA for a program they had called the GLOW program, Get the Lead Out program. We have identified all of our service lines that are lead, but we also have a need to identify all of our water customers' service lines. So from like the main line to the shutoff, we've identified all those. What we haven't gotten done yet is identifying the customers, which is from the shutoff to the house. And so through the GLOW initiative, they'll come in, they'll help us get some PR pieces together out to the community to help citizens identify those service lines that are lead. And they also have contractors at their disposal for the ones that we can't identify by using customers. But the really great thing about this one is they're going to take all that information that we've compiled as far as the lead lines we've identified already, the low pressure lines, the Columbia Gas 5-year projects that are in the future, and our potential sewer line projects, put them into one big comprehensive plan, and they'll also help us identify some funding sources once we go to start getting rid of those lead lines. And so we be able to eliminate the lead lines and potentially upgrade some of the pressure lines in Fostoria, and then put a paving project together based on all that wonderful information. So I know it's a lot to throw at you all at once, but it'll be a really great comprehensive plan that we'll be able to use as a tool to not pave something and tear it up again, and really use our dollars effectively. So I'll get that other information to you as soon as we finish with those packets, but just want to catch you up to date on all of those. And I think that's probably enough information for you right now, unless you have any questions. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Director of Law?
Thank you. Unless there are questions, I don't have anything to report tonight.
All right, Director of Finance?
A couple pieces of legislation. The then and now is for the fire department to have a channel on the Seneca County Dispatch. What's interesting is they went out, they got the quote, they did everything except never opened up the purchase order. So we have some training, we have some new people involved in that department. So there's some training that needs to be done. But again, this was part of the budget. They knew that it was coming. Like I say, they even had the quotes. They just didn't get the PO in place. The other legislation is on the Park and Recs. What we're trying to do before the Financial Recovery Commission meets at the end of July is get legislation passed to firm up what's going on in the Park and Rec fund in terms of splash pad, restrooms, grants from the state, donations coming in. When we put the budget together, Cindy and I, Cindy being the auditor of state representative, weren't real sure how this was going to be accounted for, especially with donations coming in. We decided that the most transparent way is to record it all on our books, all the income and all the expenses, so that there is a trail of how the dollars came in and how the dollars go out, as opposed to having one entity pay for part of it and then transfer a donation to us, in essence, of a completed project. So what this legislation is doing is revising our budget to reflect that we have these dollars coming in and we're going to spend these dollars on the splash pad, on the restrooms. There's, and then the second piece is actually adjusting the recovery plan. So if you really want to see what does it look like at the end of the day, look at your attachment to the recovery plan legislation, and you see a summary of the Park and Rec Fund, and you'll see we are estimating $968,000 in revenues, $1.2 million in expenditures. Not all of that is splash pad related. If you remember, we have some pickleball courts going on. There's other things in the budget. So when you see $1,234,000 for this capital outlay, that is not all splash pad, just so you are aware of that. We need to appropriate those dollars. We've sent the information to the county auditor to let her know that we have those revenues in-house. We've received those donations. Now that we have the revenues, we need to appropriate the expenses, and that's what this legislation is doing, is appropriating and allowing us to move forward and expend those dollars. That hopefully can be passed on an emergency basis at our next meeting after a second reading, because the Planning Commission meets at the end of the month, and we do want to revise the plan, and when we do that, we need to take it before the commission. So we have a meeting, regularly scheduled meeting. We don't want to have to call a special one. So I will be asking for you guys to consider an emergency passage July 16th.
Thank you.
Do you know the date of that meeting?
Not off the top of my head.
Thought I'd read.
No, I don't.
That's all right.
Thank you. We will now move into the public portion of the meeting. I do have one person that officially requested through our clerk speaking time, so we'll let her go first. Deb Tyson.
Thank you. Deb Tyson, 800 Woodward Avenue. I have quite a few things. I'm happy to see that we have all these events. But one concern I have, that the splash pad was mentioned, and I've never heard from anyone, what kind of security are we going to have? Because a whole bunch of people got shot up somewhere, and I care about the youth. I think everybody here does. So I don't know who I need to go to get that answer. Then my other question is, I understand a lot of things are done with grant money, which is great. But we have an overpass and we have Iron Triangle, and they're very close. So it's very confusing which one's happening before the other one, and what year it's projected in. And let's see, what was the other thing? Oh, Spruce Street. We mentioned about NCAT and what a lovely job they did there on Jackson Street. But you just go over the tracks, and we have an ugly mess. And they were supposed to keep the road open, which, yeah, you can drive through it, but you almost need a mud truck now. And I don't understand what is so hard about keeping it. I'm not asking for no dirt on it, but it shouldn't look like I can't see the pavement. And I'm not the only one. I've been talking to a lot of people, and they would like to know who is over the streets, because there's drag racing happening in our downtown. And it happens sometimes in the wee hours of the morning when people be going to work, about 4 a.m. And it also happens in the evening, a little bit after 9 o'clock. And It's actually happening right there in that little corner where Candyland is, before you get to the tracks, McDougal, Sandusky, and Potter. To be Pacific. I have several people that have come to me about that. And so I said I would bring it to everybody's attention. So I put it out there. But I'm glad to see we have all these events, and I have told people about them. So hopefully we will get good attendance, because that's how a community comes together. And I thank everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tyson. Anyone else wish to address city council from the public? Ms. Vogelsong.
3 minutes, just keep
I'm timing you, so.
And good afternoon. First off, the lights coming up, Popular and
Sorry
Center.
to do this, but can you introduce
Oh,
yourself
Renee Vogelsong, Fostoria.
for the record?
See, I got myself thrown off here. Anyhow, the lights at Popular and Center, those things they're not on yet, but they're looking nice how they're placed up there, coming across there. They're a lot higher. Once they get lit up, I think they're really going to be nice. They're going to be well seen, a lot better than the ones that's up there. I just wanted to give the kudos to that. The other thing is, when I was up here last meeting, maybe I misrepresented it a little bit. I wasn't asking for council to start a committee or the mayor to start a committee for the activities. That ain't what I was asking for. I was asking for a committee of the citizens, maybe one or two of the council to join in on it or something like that, to get a group together, not a city committee, to get this going. I was told by a number of different people, and lo and behold, as soon as I mentioned it here at the meeting, so far there's been 4 different posts on the city webpage of the Y having their thing out to the grade school and then coming up to the city park. That's fine and dandy. But when you got a big part of like 20% 25% of the city is a single parent household with 2.5 people in the household. I don't know how they get a half, but that's how it comes out on the census. That's under $25,000 a year. Okay. Yeah, I understand the median for all is 53,000 is what the census says. But a fourth of that is only at 25 or under 25. Those parents, if they got 2 or 3 kids, they can't afford no $12, $36 a week for those kids to go out there. And then they got to take them out there only certain hours, from 11 to 4. Well, that don't work with parents that's trying to work, because they're going to be out there. So the Y has a good thing for the ones that can utilize it. I'm not taking that away from them. If they can utilize it, so be it. Go for it. There are so many of these kids, younger kids, that can't. And what about a parent, since it's only from 8 to 14 years old out there at the Y, what about the parents that's got a 6-year-old and an 8 and a 10? The 8 and the 10 gets to go. What's 6-year-old? Oh, mommy, daddy, why can't I go? So they still got to do something with them, so there's more. So it's not really what I was looking for. What I'm looking for is if we can get a small group of people together and get sponsors, to help out, to just do it. And I don't know, but like I said, I think I might have misrepresented it, because there's people watching this, because I got about 3 or 4 people commented there. I got somebody, I won't name who, from here that commented to me and gave me some information, and but it just, that part of it won't work. And on the last thing, I see you got coming up on the legislation about the criminal trespass. This is great for abandoned structures, but do we have anything in town for squatters? I mean, I understand criminal trespass and squatters is 2 different things, and it's handled 2 different ways. It'd be nice if you put something in that for squatters, because the way the state's set up, squatters have more rights than the landowners. So, and it don't go with once they get in there, it's not criminal trespass no more. So until it goes through the courts and everything, 6, 8 months later down the line. So,
We think that criminal trespassing, catching them as early as possible, and criminal trespass, citing them for criminal trespassing is the fastest and easiest way to control that. You are absolutely correct. Once they get established, it is very difficult to get them out, and that legislation would be very complex and may or may not be effective.
it's just something, seeing it, and we don't want to have that as a big problem here in town. They've got it going on all around us in the bigger cities.
Yep.
But I just wanted to throw that out there since I seen that coming up or through right in my head. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vogelsong.
Wait for your 3 minutes is up.
Good evening. Joe Droll, 425 West Ridge Drive, Fostoria. For those that don't know me, I served on city council and as council president for over 24 years. We moved away for 8 years. We've recently returned home about a year ago. I just want to speak briefly about city manager. I was heavily involved in Fostoria becoming a charter city that allows us to make our own rules. And I think that was very important. But there's a piece of that business that we've yet to accomplish. It's been tried multiple times, I understand. I don't know what it's going to take to get it passed. Perhaps hiring somebody to help sell the idea. It's pretty simple. It's too much left to chance. We moved to a city in Sandusky, and we watched the city manager form of government work very well. That's my best experience with actually watching it. It's way too much left to chance. I mean, we are still at a place in Fostoria under the current rules that apathy runs rampant. We all know that. We can have a candidate for mayor with absolutely the only person running with 0 qualifications running a multi-million-dollar business. And I've said it from the beginning, and I'll continue to say it. We've got too many good things going on, and there's just too much left to chance to let that happen. And I think we all can see how that could happen. And I'd hate to see us move back because of that. So I don't have the answers. If a citizens, there's been the charter review commissions before, but I don't know if a citizens commission on how we can finally sell it to people and make them understand the dangers of our current system. I mean, there used to be a lot more candidates run for city council, a lot more candidates for mayor, but that isn't the case anymore. And a lot of the candidates are less quality than we would like. So I just want to put it out there one more time. I'd be happy to chat with people on ideas on how to revisit this and finally get that passed. So thank you.
Mr. Droll.
Paul Allison, 118.5 West Center Street, apartment 2. I just noticed today that August is just the next month, and we have another Records Commission meeting on August 15th, 2024. I think the Finance Director's office already has something to bring to us. If you have anything else from the departments, please bring it. And if you're on this schedule, properly the schedule that everybody should have, one way or the other, I gave them out a long time ago, and I'm sure everybody kept them where they should be. But August 15th at 2 p.m., there is a Records Commission meeting in the municipal building here. Secondly, since Eric mentioned SCAT, I call him SCAT because I can't get used to the new name. I have used SCAT quite a bit to go to medical appointments in Bowling Green. And I will tell you one thing. When they tell you they're going to be there at X time, they'll be there prior to X time, almost always. So they're a very efficient organization, and the cost of a round trip to Bowling Green and back, as far as I'm concerned, is very affordable. So that's all I have to say at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Anyone else this evening? All right, we'll move into old business.
A resolution establishing the job description for the position of Clerk of Council for the City of Fostoria, Ohio.
That is the second reading of that ordinance.
An ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing, wait, that didn't sound right. Hold on, sorry. An ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing an advance to the airport grant fund with such advance to be repaid before year end 2024 and declaring an emergency.
That is the second reading of that ordinance.
A resolution adopting a tentative tax budget commencing January 1st, 2025 pursuant to section 5705.28A2 of the Ohio Revised Code and declaring an emergency to exist.
That is the second reading of that resolution and concludes old business. We'll move into new business.
An ordinance amending section 541.05 of chapter 541 of the codified ordinances of the city of Fostoria, Ohio, entitled Criminal Trespass relating to trespassing in condemned structures.
That is the first reading of that ordinance.
An ordinance amending section 1305.99 of chapter 1305 of the codified ordinances of the city of Fostoria, Ohio, all entitled Penalty relating to building code penalties.
That is the first reading of that ordinance.
An ordinance amending sections 1107.99, 1125.99, 1129.99, and 1133.99 of Part 11 of the codified ordinances of the city of Fostoria, Ohio, all entitled Penalty relating to zoning and compliance penalties.
That is the first reading of that ordinance.
A resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of Fostoria, Ohio to take all necessary steps to register the city with and become a member of Monarch City, USA.
That is the first reading of that resolution.
An ordinance amending chapter 747 of the codified ordinances of the city of Fostoria, Ohio, entitled Medical Marijuana Dispensary to include recreational marijuana dispensaries and declaring an emergency to exist.
That is the first reading of that ordinance.
An ordinance amending section 1127.01C of chapter 1127 of the codified ordinances of the city of Fostoria, Ohio, entitled Use Table to include recreational marijuana dispensaries and declaring an emergency to exist.
That is the first reading of that ordinance.
An ordinance amending section 1106.01 of chapter 1106 of the codified ordinances of the city of Fostoria, Ohio, entitled Definitions to include recreational marijuana dispensaries and declaring an emergency to exist.
That is the first reading of that ordinance.
A resolution authorizing the honorary naming of the Fostoria Metropolitan Airport as the Donald P. Miller Airport.
That is the first reading of that resolution.
A resolution approving and ratifying the prior acts of the department heads and safety service director and approving then and now certificates for said expenditures and declaring an emergency.
That is the first reading of that resolution.
An ordinance adopting and amending ordinance number 2023-66, permanent 2024 appropriations by appropriating from unappropriated funds in the general fund and park and recreational fund and transferring funds from the general fund to the park and recreation fund and declaring an emergency.
That is the first reading of that ordinance.
An ordinance adopting an amendment to the financial recovery plan for the city of Fostoria, Ohio and declaring an emergency to exist.
That is the first reading of that ordinance and concludes new business. Is there any reason to go into executive session?
I'd move that we move into executive session for the purpose of confidential business information of an applicant for economic development.
Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion by Lehman, a second by Cassidy to go into executive session for confidential business information of an applicant for economic development assistance with, will there be business to follow? There will be no business to follow. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Lehman,
Yes.
Kodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
All right, that carries. We will go into executive session. It is 6:35.
you.
Okay, we're not live.
Okay, awesome.
Mike's live.
Mine is on. How much miscellaneous do you have?
None.
Excellent. What are we waiting on? Is it that long of a hallway? What the hell? Ugh.
Yeah, my sister's kids, for whatever reason. 6'1" or 6'2" out of nowhere.
All of a sudden, Preston grows.
All right, do we have a motion to come out of executive session?
Yes.
Cassidy makes a motion to come out of executive session, seconded by Baker. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Raymond,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Bodak,
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
We are officially out of executive session at 6:51. Does anybody have any miscellaneous business? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Cassidy, second by Hall. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Lehman,
Yes.
Bodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
We are adjourned at 6:52.